When did your something is very wrong here gut instinct turn out to be right? I had a bad feeling about my aunt's boyfriend, told my mom he seemed creepy and I didn't want to stay the night there anymore. I got a bit of a lecture for calling him creepy, but she made sure I was never around him alone. And good thing. He turned out to be a child molester who is currently in jail for his involvement in a kiddie porn ring. I feel like people should be more inclined to take their kids seriously, especially if the kid is scared or finds someone threatening or creepy. No, they might not just be being silly, perhaps they're more attuned to recognizing safe versus unsafe people. I had creepy feelings about my mum's boss, a psychiatrist. He and his wife were also my parents' friends and they saw each other socially. I was told off for constantly saying how much I disliked him. Something in me just couldn't stop saying it until my mom snapped and told me off quite sternly, telling me I didn't really know him like she did. He was a kind, generous and truly lovely boss and friend and I should stop being so nasty. It was just a gut feeling, and seemingly trivial incidents. For instance, I remember being left alone with him in our lounge room at one social occasion, when everyone else happened to be out the room momentarily attending to food, chatting in another room or whatever. It was like as soon as the adults left the room he could stop acting warm and gregarious and normal. He totally ignored me like I was a piece of the furniture. Most adults in that situation would have made chit-chat with the kid. So, how's school been then, mama lady? Nope, he just took the moment to drop the act. His face, moments before warm and jovial, was suddenly somehow very dark and ugly. Little did he know that little girl was watching him closely without his mask on and glimpsed something of his true nature. A few years later, rape accusations came out from his former patient's young boys at the time. These he vehemently denied. My mum actually organized a fundraiser of local doctors to help him with his legal fees and show support. I don't know, pretty damn weird really, but it shows how fooled she and everyone else in the community were by this wonderful man. But she soon started to feel pretty sick when one of the former patients killed himself when his claims were disputed. And even more former patients emerged out of the woodwork. He was eventually found guilty of multiple counts of indecent assault, can't remember the exact legal term, of many young boys in his so-called care. Total, utter evil psychopath. Trust the gut. It can pick up cues the mind is too slow to fathom. Was it Blink by Malcolm Gladwell that espoused this theory? 130. Leaving a club with a well-lit parking lot. We had just bought a bottled water and were walking to the car. We saw a couple, guy holding girl and girl throwing up. Offered the guy to give the girl our water. He took a swig, didn't give her any, and put it back on the car they were between. We were a little taken aback and told him to give her the water. He made a vile, disgusting face as if we were cheering him on. We walked a few feet and knew something was wrong. Had the guys we were with check back and he was pants down while she was unconscious, not puking. He was forcing himself from behind. From the front, it looked like all clothes were still on. Once discovered, they fell to the floor and she smacked her head on the pavement. My friends beat the shit out of him and we called the police. Tried to comfort the girl although she was very confused and disoriented. For some reason he was insistent on explaining himself and calling to her by a wrong name. Filed a police report, found her dumbfounded friends, answered all of the detectives' questions when they called for a follow-up statement to give to the district attorney. Evil has a feeling. If you see something, say something. Looking dumb or feeling dumb is much less shitty than what could actually be happening. My freshman year, my math class had a substitute teacher who we all agreed was really weird and creepy. He really only talked to the girls and made inappropriate comments. For context, this man was easily in his 60s. Well, when our teacher come back the next week we complained to him about the sub, and talked crap about him being a creeper. The teacher was very upset. He said, "I will not stand being disrespected like this. I have known this man for a decade and he is a kind, good man who would never do anything to a student, or any person." 1 week later sub was caught, in the middle of the night, breaking and entering a college girl's apartment and I believe trying to sexually assault her or doing some other perverse thing. Teacher came in the next day and apologized. Edit, he was only charged with residential burglary, a felony, but it was a woman's home, at night. Driving with a friend of mine through a pretty remote forest road. Couple of guys in the middle of nowhere tried flagging us down. I almost stopped for them before an alarm went off in my head and I stepped on the gas. My friend started saying what the foo, and at the same time there was a shot and a bullet hit the back of the car. We made it to a police station. Turns out there had been a bunch of people and vehicles going missing in the area that same week. I live in Egypt. General rule is if someone tries to force you to stop, especially in a remote area, run them over. 15 minutes after arriving in Egypt I was in a taxi roaring through desert roads. Sketchy taxi, sketchy roads. A tourist on holiday. Suddenly 2 cars blocked the road ahead and ununiformed guys with AK-47s flagged down the taxi. Can confirm it's a shit your pants moment. We had to stop. They flashed police badges and demanded my passport. After sitting for like 10 minutes they gave it back and let us go on our way. No communication, no explanation. Great holiday. I love my stepsister to pieces but she is way too trusting with people she doesn't know well. About 10 years ago she was living with a couple of roommates who became her best friends. She would tell me stories about them, over the phone. We lived in different cities, and I would just think, Jesus Christ, these girls are messes. She could hear the wariness in my voice after telling me stories about their troubled lives and how they're really good people who have just been through a lot. I didn't buy it. I can't think of all the stories because it's been too long, but they were always sketchy as hell. Cut to my stepsister inheriting $20,000 from a deceased relative. She was young and super excited about it and I knew she probably didn't keep the new money a secret. About 1 fucking week later, one of her roommates calls her panicking, saying that this guy who she's been talking to online kidnapped her and was holding her for ransom, a $15,000 ransom, and she called my stepsister for the ransom, not her parents. Her fucking roommate, she calls me, freaking out because she didn't know what to do. I asked her if she had told her roommate about the money. Of course she did. Move out, sis. Gtfo. Those little girls who are really good people but have just been through a lot. Yeah, they're liars. She reluctantly followed my advice and thankfully didn't try to make a deal with them. I told her to call the police. If I remember correctly she didn't. She still worries me sometimes. I was walking home and a woman approached me to ask for directions. I told her how to get where she wanted to go, but she didn't walk that way, but instead walked beside me and kept pace with me. This made me incredibly uncomfortable, so I said have a nice day and doubled my speed, not running, but outpacing her significantly. A moment later, I heard running footsteps. I must have instinctively gripped my purse strap, because I held onto it as she ran by and tried to snatch it. We ended up tussling for a moment. I shouted very loudly, help, she's stealing my purse. Neighbors came outside, causing her to walk away. She did not get my purse. I pulled into a gas station around 8-9 p.m. That wasn't in a ghost town or anything, but it was insanely dark due to the time of year. As I pulled towards one of the pumps, I see they stood slowly pacing near the entrance of the convenience store, and we make eye contact. I quickly pull the car to another pump towards one of the entrances to the gas station, trying to be safer but thinking I'm probably just being paranoid. Once I sit there for a minute and decide to put my car in park, he quickly rushes to my car. By the time I'm back in drive and peel out through the entrance into an oncoming lane, luckily no traffic, I saw him pulling out what looked like a large knife out of his jacket. Freshman year of college, a friend and I were driving across town and he stopped for gas. It wasn't a dangerous part of town or anything, just a quiet gas station with an old Buick out front. But this feeling came over me that we needed to get out of there. I tried to shake the feeling by making a joke. This feels like somewhere an ex-murderer would hide out. My friend immediately gunned it out of there without filling up. He said he had the same feeling and me bringing it up too scared the shit out of him. On the way home there were about 20 police cars outside. It turns out some guy shot 2 people in a carjacking and robbery. The Buick was the car he stole.